Welcome to the third and final part of my new build garden transformation. Here's a quick reminder of what it looked like a few weeks ago when I'd left it unattended and not really done anything in well over a year other than occasionally mowing the lawn, because I'd really fallen out of love with it. But I realised I wanted to love it, I wanted to use the space, and so the goal was to create a more English country garden vibe and hide the boxed in new build look. It's a small space, so I'm working with what I have, and I'm doing this on a budget, so stay tuned for the cost breakdown at the end of the video. To keep things neat and tidy, another routine mowing of the lawn had to take place. I don't know about anyone else, but an uncut lawn is like an unmade bed. There's no point in trying to make the garden look good if the lawn looks scruffy, and a neat and tidy lawn really does bring it all together and make it look so much better. Unfortunately, my lawn is very little grass at this point and a lot of clover, as well as some sparse patches. It's working for now, but I'm well aware of how expensive and labour intensive it can be to redo it, especially to do it properly, and so I don't end up with the same problems again. So it really isn't a priority for this makeover, but it will need sorting eventually. The previous two videos featured most of the graft work with all of the digging and planting. Now I can see the garden is coming together and it's time to move on with the tidying up jobs. I sprayed weed killer around my slabs and brickwork and left that to do its job, but to be perfectly honest, it wasn't much good, and after a day or two, I set about doing the weeding myself. I removed all the weeds from between the slabs and then went around and pulled the weeds and the moss from between the brickwork. I was then able to go along and fill the gaps with sand to neaten it up and give it a fresh look. It was a bit orange at first, but after the next rain shower, and let's be real, we've continued to have a lot of those, it's all settled down and looks much more natural. Continuing on with just the smaller, odd jobs that needed finishing off, we have a bit of plant recycling. I have matching planters by my back door that both once had ferns in them, but in true Charlotte fashion, I managed to kill one off and just never bothered to replace it. Luckily, my mum had one growing in her garden that was overcrowded and wouldn't be missed if she dug it out. And so we did exactly that, and we brought it over to my garden, we filled the empty planter, and so now I have matching ferns again either side of the back door. My mum also had a pack of wild meadow flowers, and she wasn't using them, and I didn't really have a particular patch where I could sprinkle these, so we just decided to sprinkle them under the acer and hope for the best. So who knows, maybe a flower or two will pop up in this area. I also planted a couple of dahlias in these cute little pots that I found in HomeSense. They were just $3.99 each, and I had the idea that these could be used to brighten up my two little seating areas in the garden. And so I could get one of those seating areas back to how it should be. I cleaned my rattan furniture and placed it back under the pergola with one of the pots of dahlias to create my first little relaxation spot. Of the two seating areas I'm going to create, this is going to be the more comfortable one, and so I feel like this would be the perfect spot for something like reading a book on an afternoon. I lost the daylight, and so I took to building garden furniture in my kitchen, which was the most expensive part of my garden makeover. I got these pieces from Wayfair, and actually I'm really pleased with them considering they were at more of a budget price. All in all, they were really easy to build and didn't take that long to do. The next day I set them up outside and added the other little pot with dahlias in as a finishing touch, and honestly I'm so excited to be able to sit out here when the weather picks up a bit. Fingers crossed. This little spot will be perfect for sitting out with my morning cuppa, eating dinner on summer evenings, or even working outside with my laptop. Lastly, I needed to do a spot of cleaning, especially around the windows and the door, as I'd made a bit of a mess with all of the gardening antics that had taken place over the last few weeks. I also pruned some of my plants because this project has taken a little while and some of the heads on some of the plants had started to go over, and so I knew I needed to remove those so that fresh ones have a better chance of growing. And let's face it, that's practice of what's to come as I endeavour to keep on top of everything. And at this point I felt like I was done. So here's just another reminder of what it looked like before. And now here's what it looks like with a few close-ups of my favourite features. There are still a few things I would like to do, but nothing urgent and things I can look forward to taking my time with now that the big overhaul has taken place. I can continue on with this as a gentle, ongoing project, slowly making improvements over time. At this point, I was aware that I was coming to the top end of my budget and I felt like it was a good place to stop for the time being. And so, whilst I grab a cuppa and sit out enjoying my new garden, here is a cost breakdown. Paint and a new brush. I got the paint at 2 for £15 from the range, so that was a total of £17.50. Plant pots, those were the 2 long grey ones and the 2 small ones for the dahlias. The rest were all reused or old ones that my mum wasn't using and she let me have. Altogether here I spent £45.96. Bags of soil, I got through 8 bags and the garden centre sells them at 2 for £11.50, so that was £46 altogether. Sand, 1 bag, although I only used about half of it, was £3.50. Plants altogether, and if we include the roses that my grandparents bought me, we did actually end up planting 19 plants altogether, came to £65.92. And the furniture, which was the most expensive thing, including delivery, was £201.97. But just to make myself feel better, equipment hire was £0 because I used what I already had and borrowed what I didn't have. And labour was £0 because me and my mum kind of smashed it. That gives us a grand total of £380.85 for this garden makeover. I'm really very happy with how it turned out and cannot wait to enjoy it. If you want to keep up to date with me using the garden, I'll be posting short reels over on Instagram throughout the summer. You can find me at Chasing the Country. I hope you enjoyed this transformation video. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, and if you're sticking around for another one, I'll pop one on the screen that I think you might enjoy. Until next time, take care. Bye.